Welcome back to another edition of Maddie's Rap. I'm your host, the multiple award-winning author, Matt D. Talford, author of a couple of amazing books that I will tell you about at the end of this video. And for today's video, I want to tell you guys, I want to get right through this material because I feel like this is one of the most important videos that you may ever see on YouTube or any other platform, okay? Because it is all about you and how to be your best you. Okay, so with that in mind, I am going to skip the normal introductions that I do, okay? Because I'm going to jump right into this material. What are we talking about today? We are talking about the importance of knowing your sun, your moon, and your rising sign, and knowing how all of those combine to make you who you are, okay? All three of those powerful astrological placements come together to make you who you are. Now, there's some other ones in there too. You got your house placements, you got your north node, south node, that sort of thing. I'm not going to get into those right now because the three big ones are your sun, moon, and rising, okay? Those are the ones that pretty much people who know you by, okay? They may not know your sun sign. Pretty much everybody knows everybody's sun sign because most people sort of wear that on their sleeves. Most people, not everybody. Some of y'all are, keep that zodiac away from me. Anyway, go to Genesis chapter 1 and you'll understand who created zodiac, okay? Who created astrology. Go to Genesis chapter 1. I have talked about this ad nauseum in a lot of my other videos. So now, let's get right into this. Matt, what is the purpose? Why did you say this is one of the most important videos that we may ever see? Well, I've said this before. I'll say it here again. Astrology is all about knowing yourself, knowledge of yourself and knowledge of others. When you understand how you are created, how you work, then I feel like it will make your life so much easier because when you understand yourself, you're less harsh on yourself. You're less judgmental of yourself. When you understand others and how they were created, you're less judgmental of others. Understand that nobody here created themselves, okay? And I got another video that says, you're not mad at me. You're mad at the chef that created me, all right? Like, who goes to a restaurant and gets mad at the steak because the steak didn't come out right? You're not mad at the steak. You're mad at who made the steak, all right? So, this understanding astrology will help us in our relationships. Life is all about relationships. We didn't come here to be by ourselves. If you were by yourself, you wouldn't need to know astrology, okay? You wouldn't need to know it at all. And I'm talking about interpersonal astrology. I'm not talking about some of the other long-term things that some of these big-time people or some of these rulers use to try to figure out, what's going to happen with their country and their land and all this stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about interpersonal astrology, okay? So, when you know yourself, it helps you to better govern yourself when you're dealing with others. Okay, now, so that's pretty much the general theme that I want to set out for this video. So let's jump right into this. We're going to start with part one will be a general explanation of your sun, moon, and rising. All right, they're pretty much kind of the general explanation that a lot of YouTubers and a lot of astrologists cover when they're teaching this stuff. And then we'll move on to part two, which are some practical examples. And these are, let me tell you folks, these examples are so practical that by the time you're done with this video, you will be able to apply them immediately in your life today because they will make sense to you because you'll have a relative example of how these things work, okay? Now, so that's part two, practical examples. Then we'll move to part three, which is the importance of the chart ruler, okay? I'll tell you what a chart ruler is, and I'll tell you why it's important that you know what your chart ruler is. And then we'll wrap up. We'll wrap up after that. So, one more piece of housekeeping before we get started. If you want to know what your sun, moon, and rising signs are, you're going to need to use a birth chart or a natal chart calculator. Some people call it birth chart. Some people call it natal chart. It's the same thing. You're going to need that calculator. I'm going to put a link to one of my favorite calculators in the description box below. In fact, I'll give you two of them so you can kind of contrast them because some of them present the descriptions of these different placements differently, okay? So I'll put two links to two of my favorite ones in the description box below. And then keep in mind, you cannot possibly know what your rising sign is unless you know what time you were born. That is very important, okay? So now, let's get right into this. What is the sun sign, Matt? Some people explain the sun sign as 2 words, I am. Your sun is pretty much the core of your soul's essence, okay? That is pretty much the basis of who you are. That is who you are on a basic level, all right? Let's take, for example, a hamburger. You go to somebody might say, Matt's always talking about food. I love food, right? I do. Everybody knows me knows I love food. Anyway, let's take, for example, a burger. You go to a burger joint, whether it's a custom one or a fast food one. I don't do hamburgers anymore. I don't. I do lamb burgers, turkey burgers, typically the ones I make at home. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. This isn't a food show, man. We're talking about astrology. But again, take, for example, a hamburger. You got a basic burger. That is a burger, is a burger, is a burger. What makes that burger unique is what are the toppings they put on it, what temperature was it cooked at, all of that different stuff, okay? What seasonings did they use? That's what makes those burgers unique, okay? If you take a basic piece of beef and it's going to be the same at McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, whatever. And again, these are places I don't eat anymore, but I'm just using them as points of reference. Not judging anybody who does. I just, for personal reasons, don't do those anymore. But it's basically beef, okay? What makes them different is, different things that go into them, how they're prepared. So, but at the core, that sun sign is going to be equivalent to what that is beef. Is it beef? Is it chicken? Is it turkey? Okay. Now, so your sun is I am. Who am I? That is the core of your soul essence. Your moon, and back to the sun really quick, and I'll use myself for examples in this video. I'm a Capricorn sun, okay? I'm a Capricorn. What's your sun? When your sun is your sign. When people say, what's your sign? They're typically talking about their sun. What month, day, year were they born? That's their sun, okay? And the year's not even as important. What month and day were you born? That's your sign, okay? Your moon. What is your moon, Matt? Your moon is your feelings. I feel. How you feel. Your moon governs your heart. It is the governor of your emotional body, all right? The difference between the sun and the moon, the sun is what everybody sees. The sun, when you're out in daylight, the sun gives you a clear field of vision for a long way, miles even, if your eyes are that good. You can see things because you're in broad daylight. So that's your sun. What do people see, okay? Your moon is... You can't see things at night as much. I mean, the illumination of the moon is far less than that of the sun. So for the moon, you got to get up close. If you're talking about moonlight, things that are hidden by the night or obscured by the nighttime, you need to get up close to them to be able to see them. That's the moon, close, your emotions. You don't always show your emotions to everybody, except for perhaps those that you're closest to. So that's your moon. It is the words they use for the moon is I feel, or are I feel. The moon is the governor of your emotional body, okay? It governs your feelings, governs your emotions. And then your rising sign. What is your rising sign? The rising sign is also called the ascendant. What is that? It is how you appear to the world. The 2 words they use to describe the rising sign is I appear, okay? Think of your rising sign. What does it do? It colors and defines how you do what you do and what type of energy you give off when people first meet you. That's pretty much your rising sign. Now, to further explain the sun, what is the sun? Again, and I'm going over the general explanation, and then we're going to move into some details, okay? What is your sun, Matt? Your sun is pretty much the constellation that the sun was in on the date that you were born. If you were born on January 1st, you are a Capricorn. If you were born on September 1st, you're a Virgo. Okay, that's pretty much how that works. If you're born on December the 1st, you're a Sagittarius. What position, what constellation was the sun in on the month and day you were born? That is pretty much going to be your sun sign. Okay, now on to the moon. What is the moon, Matt? The moon is the constellation and the phase of the moon. The moon is the constellation and phase, so to speak. Not so much the phase, but the phase does factor in. There's a difference between if you're born under a new moon and you're born under a full moon. There's a difference there. But for the most part, the moon is the constellation that the moon was in on the date that you were born, okay? Relative. Now, this is relative to the location. So, because the moon phase is, and the moon constellation is going to be different based on where you are on the planet, okay? So your moon sign is going to be relative to the location that you were born in. You don't need to know the time, but you do need to know of course, the day and month that you were born, okay, and what and year factors in there too. So you're gonna want to know the date that you were born on and what city, what location were you born in. That will define your moon sign. What constellation was the moon in when you were born, okay? And where? When and where you were born, what constellation was the moon in? That's your moon sign, okay? And again, your moon is the governor of your emotions. And last but not least, your rising sign. Now, this is where it gets tricky, because if you do not know the time that you were born, you're not going to know your rising sign. Your rising sign changes every 2 hours, okay? There are 12 constellations. 12 times 2 is 24. So there are 24 hours in a day. So your rising sign, or AKA your ascendant, is going to change every 2 hours. So it is important that you know what time you were born. Now, what is the rising sign? The rising sign is the constellation that appeared on the eastern horizon at the date and time that you were born, relative to the location that you were born in. Okay, so if you were born in, let's say, Los Angeles let's say you were born in Los Angeles at 2 a.m., okay? Well, if you were born in Chicago at 2 a.m., you already know there's an hour difference, and that location is different. So what constellation is rising on the eastern horizon at the time that you were born? That's not to be confused with the sun, because if you're born at midnight, there is no sunrise. But there is a constellation that appears on the eastern horizon from that city and location that you were born in at the time that you were born, 24 hours a day. So if you want to know your rising sign, you have to know what time you were born. Now, it is critical that you know the time that you were born also, because the time that you were born is going to dictate your house placement. Okay, what are your houses? There are 12 zodiac signs and 12 houses. Okay, each of those houses has a ruler, and they pretty much are those signs. And each of those houses has different areas of your life that are governed by them. Now, I'm not going to get into the houses so much, but I did do a video where I talked about how you can harness the energy of the new moon and of the full moon and make that apply in the area of your life that is governed by whatever sign that moon is in. For example, today's date is Friday, October the 14th. 2022. We have a new moon in Scorpio coming up in about 10, 11 days, okay? Why is that important? It's important because the new moon ushers in fresh energy, new energy, okay? So if you know that new moon is in Scorpio and you know your house placement, then you would simply need to look at your birth chart and figure out, what house do I have Scorpio in? What does that house rule? What does it govern? Okay, now that I know what that house rules and what that house governs, I can expect fresh energy in that area of my life. Okay, so I'm not going to go. I dealt with that in a different video. I'll put a link in the description box below. Okay, now, so let's move on. Now that we know what the sun and the moon and the rising are, and you know what their basic descriptions are, let's move on to part 2, which is practical examples. Okay. All right. I'm going to give you guys 3 practical examples that'll make this stuff so simple to you, okay? It'll make it stupendously simple, okay? In example 1, I'm just going to use the what, how, and why approach, okay? In example 2, I'm going to use the cutting grass, all right? Mowing the lawn, cutting grass. That'll be our second example, and how the rising sun and moon apply to those, okay? And then the third example, everybody would know this, cars, okay? So, example number 1, exhibit A, okay? How, what, and why. When you look at the how, what, and why example of sun, moon, and rising, what you have is, number 1, your what. Your what is your sun. The what is the sun, okay? The how is the rising, and the why is the moon. What? What are you? Okay, what are you doing? Let's take, for example, a task. What are you doing? What you're doing or what you do is your sun. Okay, that pretty much is what you are is your sun. What you are is your sun. Let me go back. What you are is your sun. I'm a Capricorn sun, okay? How you appear and how you do the things that a Capricorn sun does is dictated by your rising sign. It's dictated by your rising sign. I'm a Libra rising, okay? So that Libra energy is pretty much going to dictate how I move as a Capricorn. You understand how that works? I am a Capricorn sun. Everybody knows what a Capricorn is. Everybody pretty much knows what the general is. Not everybody. I don't want to assume everybody knows these things. But generally speaking, Capricorns are about work. They're about grinding. They're about that work ethic. The Capricorn is represented by the, I won't get all into that. I won't get into the avatars for each of these signs, zodiac signs. I'll skip the avatars. But, Capricorn energy is about work. It is very work-centric. Capricorn is the ruler of the 10th house. The 10th house is the house of career. So we're talking about work when we're talking Capricorn. All right. Strong work ethic. Capricorns can tend to be a little bit aloof. They can be, some people say Capricorns can be cold. Okay. But I'm a Libra rising. So that's going to dictate how I move as a Capricorn. Okay. Now, if the Capricorn energy is described by some as somewhat cold, somewhat distant, and just focused, extremely focused on work, well, guess what? Libra energy is about warmth, balance, friendliness, whatever. So now that would automatically nullify or neutralize any coldness that I might have as a general Capricorn. You see how these things work together? Okay, so the what is the Capricorn for me? The how is the Libra energy. How I move is a Capricorn, okay? So that's your rising. Your what is your sun. Your how is your rising. Now, your moon, interestingly enough, your moon is your why. Why do you do the things that you do? What makes you tick? Okay. Why do you move like you move? Okay. The Capricorn, the combination of Capricorn and Libra is going to spell out how I move. Okay. The combination of your sun and your rising, and by some accounts, some astrologers teach that the rising sign is actually more important than the sun sign. I don't know if I agree with that, but I can't necessarily disagree with it either. So I'll just stay neutral on it. But the moon is the why. Why do I do what I do? The why is always in your heart. Keep that in mind. Why you do what you do is always in your heart. Okay. Why do you give somebody a gift on their birthday? Why do you choose to open the door for someone who has groceries in both hands versus why you might walk away and see them with those groceries in their hand and not open the door? That's what's in your heart, okay? Your heart is the center of your emotions, and the moon, your moon sign, is pretty much the governor of that heart emotional energy. So in the example of what, how, and why, your what is your sun, your how you do what you do as a sun is your rising sign or your ascendant, and why you do things the way you do them, or why you do things period, has everything to do with your moon, okay? So the what is your sun, the how you do what you do is your rising, and the why you do what you do is your moon, okay? Now, let's move on down here to practical example number 2. Cutting the grass, or as some people say, mowing the lawn. Okay, so for this example, okay, because the what is the task, or cutting the grass. Now, obviously, the way an Aries cuts the grass is going to be different than the way a Taurus cuts it. There's going to be different than, and this may not be the best example, but why did my, okay, it's still recording. My screen went off there, I went to sleep. Let me check my battery strength to make sure. Okay, I'm down to 19%. Let me get on through this video. So everybody's gonna cut if you're gonna cut the grass differently based on, if you're an Aries all the way through to a Pisces. You might do it differently. And again, grass cutting or mowing the lawn, it may not be the best example, but if you don't want that example, just say work. Okay, how you work is gonna be different from whether you're an Aries or whether you're a Pisces. Okay, it doesn't matter. Now, but for this example, we're gonna consider that the sun sign is the same across the board, okay? Because every sign would take a different approach. So, a Capricorn, let me give you guys some practical examples. We're talking about cutting the grass. A Capricorn is going to get out there and cut that grass himself. Capricorn's like, man, look, I don't need nobody's help. I'm getting out here and I'm going to cut this yard. I don't care how long it takes me. I don't care what the temperature is outside. I don't care if it's 95, 98 degrees outside. I want to cut this grass. The grass needs to be cut. And I got something else I want to do in 2 or 3 hours, so I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait till tomorrow. I'm going to go out there and do it right now. And I don't care how hot it is. That's the Capricorn, okay? I don't care how cold it is. That's the Capricorn, all right? Now, contrast that with a Virgo or a Leo. A Virgo or a Leo are likely going to hire somebody else to do it. Why? Because they want to free up their time so they can go do something else, okay? They have, if that's a Virgo, that Virgo has prioritized his or her, I say her because the majority of the Virgos I know are women, but that Virgo is going to prioritize her day. She's gonna look at her day. She's gonna prioritize all of her tasks, and she's gonna look at what needs to be done. And that Virgo is gonna say, you know what? If I don't go out here and cut this grass, and I hire somebody else to do it, I can scratch that off my list, and I can move on and go do this other thing. So it's interesting. Virgos and Capricorns are very similar. They're very similar, but their approaches are a little bit different. The Capricorn, yes, he's gonna have a structured approach, but he's not gonna, dare I say, overthink it. The Capricorn is going to set that course, and he's going to say, boom, let's go. I tell y'all, man, every time I get in here, the phone rings. I got my cell phone in airplane mode, but somebody picked that up. Good. So yeah. Anyway, so that Capricorn they're going to like, hey, let's set course and go. That Virgo is going to analyze every stage of that. Okay, let's see. They're going to analyze everything. How much time is this going to take me? Let's see, how much time is it going to take me to do the front yard versus the backyard? Do I want the grass higher in the front or in the back? Do I want it all the same length? The Virgos are going to spend a little bit more time on analyzing the entire project before they get on it, okay? That Capricorn is going to be like, this is the project, let's go. That's the difference, all right? But anyway, the Virgo or the Leo's like, okay, what else can I be doing with my time? Because, well, I'm a Leo. So that Leo is going to do it differently than that Capricorn. That Virgo is going to do it differently than that Capricorn. That's one example. Okay. Now let's get to the rising sign. The rising sign is going to dictate how that grass is cut. Okay. A Libra or a Taurus rising will do it in such a way as to have the most alluring lawn. Okay. They want that Libra or that Taurus. They're into aesthetics because they represent Venusian energy, and I'll talk about that. The energy of Venus. Venus is about beauty, aesthetics, love, that kind of thing. I'll get to that later when down in part 3. But that Libra rising or that Taurus rising are going to do it in such a way as to have the most beautiful or alluring lawn. Now, contrast that with a Sagittarius rising. The Sagittarius rising is going to have that grass cut, whether they do it themselves. That's going to depend on their sun sign or whatever. But that Sagittarius rising is going to do it in such a way as to make an impact in the neighborhood. They're about big impact. Why? Because Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. So we're going to talk about chart rulers in part 3. But because Jupiter is big energy, that Sagittarius rising is going to want have that grass cut, whether they cut it or have somebody else do it. They're going to want to do it in such a way that it makes a bold statement or a big impact. Okay? Now, so that's your practical example of mowing the lawn. That's the rising sign, okay? I said mowing the lawn, but we're still under mowing the lawn, okay? So that's the rising sign example of mowing the lawn. Now, when you talk about mowing that lawn for a moon sign, the moon sign is going to explain why they're cutting that grass. Why is that lawn being manicured? Why is that lawn being cut? Let's contrast, let's say, a Cancer moon with a Capricorn moon. That Cancer moon, whether it's a landscaping company or the homeowner themselves, why are they cutting that grass? Okay, that Cancer moon is probably cutting that grass. If they're a lawn care company, that Cancer moon is cutting that grass because that guy that's working in that lawn care company, he wants to provide for his family, so he is cutting that grass so that he can, have money for his family or whatever like that. He's doing it for somebody. He's doing it for somebody close to him. That is that Cancer moon if he's a lawn care guy. Now, if that Cancer moon is the homeowner, that Cancer moon wants to get out there and do it so nobody else in the family has to do it. They're doing it for the family. Cancer moons are about nurturing. They're doing that. They're cutting that lawn so that, hey, you know what? I want to have a nice lawn for my family. That's that Cancer moon, okay? That Capricorn moon, on the other side, that Capricorn moon is doing it for a slightly different reason. If he's the lawn care company, then it's all about the bag. He's cutting, how many yards can I cut today so I can get, if I cut 10 yards, I got 10 yards times however much I'm charging to cut a yard. That's how that Capricorn moon is thinking if he or she is that lawn care company, okay? Now, if they're the homeowner, then that Capricorn moon is doing it for structure, okay? That Capricorn moon maybe wants to set the example for the neighborhood. This is how a lawn should look. That's that Capricorn moon, okay? That's Capricorn energy in the moon sign. So why am I doing it? The why for Capricorn moon is going to be different from the why for a Cancer moon, okay? Now, let's contrast one more sign there. I want to give y'all something because Capricorn and Cancer are pretty much on the same axis, okay? They're on the same axis, so they just do things slightly differently, but they, the two signs are family oriented, but one of them is about nurturing, the other one is about providing. Capricorn's about providing, Cancer's about nurturing. Okay, so let's go different. Let's go to fire sign. Why would an Aries moon do it? Okay. That Aries moon, if he's the lawn care company owner, that Aries moon wants to get all the business in that neighborhood. He don't want anybody else to eat. That's that fire energy. He's like, man, let me get out here. Let me be first. Let me show them how nice I cut this grass so that next door neighbor, when I go knock on his yard, he's like, yo, I did that yard next door. Yo, when I'm done with your yard, tell your next door neighbor, I'm the guy for your neighborhood. All right, that's that Aries energy in that moon, okay? Now, if that Aries energy is, if that Aries moon is the homeowner in that neighborhood, then it's real simple. That Aries moon wants to be the first one to cut his grass. Nobody's going to beat him to cutting the grass. He's going to be the first one to cut the grass so he can sit back and look at everybody else like, yo, you ain't cut your grass? My yard is done. That's that Aries energy in the moon, okay? That's the why. That's the reason why that Aries moon is out there cutting that grass. Okay, so those are 3 examples there of the sun, moon, and rising and how these different signs might behave when it comes to the task of mowing the lawn. Now, for the last practical example, we'll talk about cars. Your sun is going to be the type and model of that car. It's going to be the engine that makes that car go. Let's use BMW for example. That BMW, that 5 Series. Let's use 5 Series. I don't own a 5 Series. I don't own a BMW, but I have friends that own 5 Series, okay? I personally like American cars and Japanese cars. That's just who I am. I'm not big on Germans, but, to each his own. So the sun is going to be the car type and the model and the engine that makes it go. Why is that significant? Well, because you can go to a car dealership and there can be 10 BMW 5 Series out there. They're all BMW 5 Series. Guess what? You go in a room with 10 Capricorns, they're all Capricorns. But what makes those Capricorns different? What makes those Capricorns different? Okay? Let's go down to the rising sign, all right? The rising or the ascendant is the way that car looks. It's the way that car looks from the paint color to the interior options, the options package, to the trim of the car. Does the car have a rear spoiler? Does the car have quad exhaust versus dual exhaust? That's going to be your rising sign. What is the appearance? What is the characteristics? What sets that BMW 5 Series apart from the other one? Okay? The rising sign is going to be a silver BMW versus a black BMW. Okay? The rising sign might be the M Series package versus the non-M Series. Okay? So your rising sign at the car dealership is going to be the options. What does that car look like? Okay? What sets that car apart from the other cars? Now, when you talk about the moon sign with cars, the moon sign, baby, is all about the driver. It is all about the driver. I can't read my own scribble scrabble here. Okay, operator. How do they operate the vehicle and why do they do it that way? Remember, the moon sign is about why, it's the emotions. Okay, so you're talking about the driver when you're talking about the moon. You got a BMW series. Let's say you got a red BMW. We know we're talking BMW 5 Series. A BMW 5 Series is a BMW 5 Series. Okay. This BMW 5 Series is red. Okay. Well, this guy over here, he's got a 5 Series that's red as well. So now you got 2 BMW 5 Series that are identical. Okay. They got the identical rising sign and they're the identical sun because they both are BMW 5 Series. But what's going to set those apart now is that moon, that driver. One driver is going to be conscientious, okay, in it. They're going to drive it carefully. The other one is going to say, man, this is the BMW. It's about performance, baby. Let's see what this thing can do. That is the moon sign, all right? That's the emotions. How do I feel driving this car? Now, let's give you some examples again. Typically speaking, a Capricorn or Cancer moon are going to drive a performance car a lot differently than, say, an Aries or a Scorpio moon. One driver is going to drive it responsibly, dare I say. The other will test the responsiveness of the wheels, the engine, and the brakes, okay? And they're going to do that on a much more regular basis, okay? So, again, you take that, what is Aries energy? And I'm getting ready to talk about this in just a minute, all right? But you take that Aries, that ruling planet of Aries is Mars. Mars is about action. Mars, in mythology, was the god of war, okay? So you talk about aggressive, that Scorpio moon or that Aries moon may drive that BMW 5 Series with a little bit more aggression. Why? Because they want to feel what that car feels like. Now, that Capricorn moon or that Cancer moon, they're going to be thinking practically, all right, man, this is a nice car. I know it's a performance vehicle, but if I drive it the right way, my maintenance bill might be a lot lower, and I'm probably going to own it I'm probably going to get a lot more mileage out of it. And if you're a Capricorn, if you got Capricorn anywhere in your chart or Cancer anywhere in your chart, you're probably laughing right now because that's how you're thinking. I'm a Cap sun and a Cancer moon. That's how I think of the vehicle. Now, every now and then, I get a little flair because I've got one Scorpio placement, and you could probably guess where that is. But I get this itch sometimes that makes me just want to. So I'll let y'all figure out where that one Scorpio placement is in my chart. But anyway, by and large, an Aries or a Scorpio moon are going to drive that vehicle a lot differently than a Capricorn or a Cancer moon. So let's move on now and talk about the placements, okay? So these different placements and the combinations of them, the sun, the moon, and the rising, pretty much come together to offset the extremes. I know I talked about extremes just now, and I just gave you the example of myself. Capricorn sun, Cancer moon, I'm going to be responsible, typically speaking, with the way I drive that car. But because I got Scorpio somewhere else in my chart, I'm every now and then I'm going to go this way or that way. So that I'm going to push it just to see, So that's that is how things can be offset. So again, and I used myself for an example earlier, I talked about how Capricorn energy can be described by some as cold, aloof, maybe even standoffish. But focused, they're like that because they're focused on the task. However, the Libra in my chart offsets that Capricorn. So nobody would ever describe me as being cold or aloof because of my packaging. The rising, I'm a Libra rising. Okay. And then that Cancer moon actually is offsetting too because Cancer energy is nurturing. So, don't get too wrapped up in the extremes of one sign or the other. Because remember, the sun, the moon, and the rising all come together to form a composite. And sometimes those extremes get offset by extremes in the opposite direction that bring you, like India Irie says, back to the middle. Come back to the middle. Y'all know how that goes. Anyway. Now, moving on to part three. The importance of the chart ruler. I just talked about that, okay? The chart ruler. The energy of your chart ruler sets the overall tone for how you do everything, okay? Everything. But again, you cannot know what your chart ruler is if you don't know what time you were born, okay? I want to put that out there again. Some of you don't know what time you were born. You can write the hospital or the Office of Vital Records or whatever, or you can go to the Office of Vital Records, I think pay maybe $10 or something like that and get a copy of your birth certificate with the time on it and all of that good stuff. That's one example someone gave me. If you guys know another way to do it, you can leave it in the comments below for the benefit of the community. So now, the energy of your chart ruler sets the overall tone for how you do everything. What is that chart ruler? Simply defined, the chart ruler is the ruling planet of your rising sign. Okay? I'm a Libra rising. That would make my chart ruler Venus. Okay? That would make my chart ruler Venus. If you are a Sagittarius rising, that would make your chart ruler Jupiter. If you are a Scorpio rising, that would make your chart ruler Mars, okay? If you're a Virgo rising or a Gemini rising, that would make your chart ruler the planet Mercury. And so if you're a Cancer rising, your chart ruler is the moon, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you guys can look that up. Just look up the ruling planets of signs. Just Google something like signs or zodiac ruling planets, and it'll tell you what that is. So, or zodiac sign chart rulers, and it'll give you the description of each of those. So, your rising sign. Now, this is important too. This is important. So your chart ruler, the energy that is that chart ruler, pretty much it sets the tone for everything you do. If you're a Libra rising like myself, the tone is Venusian energy. Look up Venusian energy. What is the energy of Venus? The energy of Venus is beauty, aesthetics, art, fine dining, fine everything fine. That's Venus. Okay, so that's going to set the tone for everything that I do. It's also going to set the tone for everything that I like. Okay, things that you like and the way you move is going to be dictated by the energy of your chart ruler. So what is your sign in the first house, aka your rising or your ascendant, and what is the ruling planet for that? Look that up, guys. Okay, for yourselves. Now, but your rising sign, keep this in mind, your rising sign may further define how you do what you do. Now, that's going to be key in these rising signs that where you have two rising signs that are ruled by the same chart ruler, because then the energy is gonna be a little bit different. For example, Mercury is the chart ruler for both Virgo and Gemini. So if you're a Gemini rising, Mercury's your chart ruler. If you're a Virgo rising, Mercury's your chart ruler. Now, we know that Virgos and Gemini they move differently. They're different. Gemini energy tends to be more about Geminis. The Geminis, I know they're big. They're great on conversation. They love to talk. They love to exchange ideas. They love philosophy. That is Gemini energy. I got a brother who's a Gemini. I got a very good friend of mine that I grew up with who's a Gemini. And these are people that I actually love talking to because they can take you on a journey through conversation, and it's beautiful. That's Gemini energy. Virgo energy, on the other hand, is more about now its chart ruler is Mercury as well, but I'm gonna show you how they play together. Virgo energy is more about analytics. Okay, so when a Virgo, now Mercury, what does Mercury rule? Mercury rules communication. So if you're dealing with somebody that is a Virgo rising or a Gemini rising, communication is an underlying theme, or is an underlying essence of them. It's a part of it. It is essential to them. Communication. When Virgos are communicating, they're analyzing. They want to know how something works. They want to know why something is the way it is. That's Virgo Mercury energy. Gemini Mercury energy, they may want to know why too, but it's for a different reason. So just think, just look at those two cards. Let me give you a different one. Venus is the ruler of Taurus rising, Venus is the ruler of Taurus and Libra. So if you're a Libra rising, Venus is your chart ruler. If you're a Taurus rising, Venus is your chart ruler. How does that come into play? Taurus energy is different from Libra energy. Okay, Taurus energy is about material possessions, that sort of thing. That's just one theme of Taurus energy. So when you got a person with a Taurus rising, they're into the same Venusian energy that Libra rising is. They want beautiful things too, but it's more about the things with Taurus, okay? With Libra, it's more about the experience. Libras want beautiful experiences. They want beautiful memories. So when you're dealing with a Libra rising, you're going to get a slightly different energy in that overall birth chart or that overall person than you're going to get from someone who's a Taurus rising. But keep in mind, both of them are known for some of the things that Libra rising and Taurus rising are known for are looks, the way they dress, what they drive, what they live in. That's more so on the Taurus side. But as far as the voices, these are things that I've read. The voices tend to be alluring. They tend to be calm, reassuring with Libra and Taurus rising. So those are just some general characteristics. But again, those are Venusian traits. Okay. Now let's get on to Mars. Mars is the other one that is ruler of two signs. Mars is the ruler for Aries and Scorpio. So when you're talking about an Aries rising versus a Scorpio rising, they're going to be a little bit different. Aries is, both of them are action oriented, But Aries is about out front, bolt. It's about that ram charging forward with his head, boom, knock you down. Let's see. Okay, this says I need to plug in my thing here soon. I'm almost done, guys. So that is going to be, you know what? Let me plug this in. I'm just going to switch up here and plug this. Yeah, if I move it, all right. Let me just speed through this. So let me do this. Oh, I'm nervous. Let me plug this in. Okay, we got it plugged in, so the world is safe again. Now, so I can slow down a little bit. So that's pretty much. And Aries rising is going to be about out front action. Okay, Scorpio rising is going to be a little bit more subdued. Scorpios, think about it. The Aries is represented by the ram. I know I said I wasn't going to get into avatars, but this is a good example. This is a good reason to do it. Aries is represented by the ram, okay? That ram charges. Boom, it's about action, okay? Scorpio is represented by the scorpion. That scorpion is about action too, but that scorpion watches and it waits for the right moment, okay? Scorpio energy is about investigative. So a Scorpio rising, now they both are, again, a Scorpio rising, that's another one that's known, it typically is known for looks. Scorpio risings are known for their looks as well. They tend to have deep, very interesting eyes. There's something in the eyes with the Scorpio risings. I got a friend of mine who's a very good friend of mine who's a Scorpio rising, and she gets comments on her eyes all the time. But a Scorpio rising, remember, Scorpio is water energy. So when you're talking about a Scorpio rising, a Scorpio rising is going to look right through you. They're going to try to look through you and see your soul. They want to look and see through the facade to see your soul. And that's typical of any water placement. Just wanted to throw that out there. Doesn't matter if it's Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio. Everything I've read, the Pisces sun is the most spiritual, but also, the word is escaping me right now. See through you. For lack of a better term, a Pisces sun, they can see right through you. They can see through the BS. They can sniff the BS. That's a Pisces sun. On the flip side, the Cancer moon is the most, what is the word I'm looking for? It's an I word. It'll come back to me. Intuitive. That's the word I'm looking for. Intuitive. The Pisces sun is the most intuitive of all of the sun signs. The Cancer moon is the most intuitive of all the moon signs. And by some accounts, the Cancer moon is the most intuitive of all of the zodiac placements, period. But anyway, if you've got water in one of those placements, sun, moon, or rising, you're going to be highly intuitive typically. So that Scorpio rising, they're about action too, but their approach to the action is going to be different than that of the ram, the Aries rising, okay? Now, the last one I'll talk about here before we get ready to wrap up the video is Scorpio. Scorpio is interesting because it is co-ruled by Mars and Pluto. So when you're dealing with a Scorpio sun, moon, or rising, you're dealing with a placement that has two planetary rulers. Mars. What is Mars? Mars is the planet of action. What is Pluto? Pluto is the planet that rules death and rebirth. It rules spiritual. A lot of your highly spiritual people will have Scorpio, and their Scorpio will be in Pluto, or they'll have highly spiritual people tend to have Scorpio in significant placements in their chart. Why? Because Scorpio is all about death and regeneration. It's about rising from the ashes. It's about past life energy. Pluto's past life energy. It's your connection to karma and that sort of thing. So these are Pluto is the 12th house. Okay, Pluto is typically the ruler of the 12th house. Okay, Aries is that right? Did I say that right? I'll come back to it. But Pluto is the furthest planet out. It's the last one. It is the planet that is said to rule reincarnation. Okay, that's Pluto energy. So when you're dealing with a Scorpio, Scorpios are highly spiritual. So if you got a Scorpio person with Scorpio in their sun, moon, or rising, they're typically going to be a very spiritual person. So that pretty much is it. I wanted to know if you guys have any questions about this. I know this was a lengthy video, but I hope you guys found it useful. Why is all this important? I'm gonna use the ending to take you right back to the beginning. Scorpio, we're regenerating, right? The ending here is going to take us right back to the beginning. When you know yourself and you know others, you can move throughout this life a lot easier. astrology is so much about relationships, how we relate. All of the stars relate to each other differently. When there are different astrological transits where different planets are moving through different signs, it affects people differently on the earth. Why? Because all of us are made up of these different planetary and star placements. So we oftentimes get too wrapped up in color, gender, race, creed, language, things that don't matter as much as the things that we all have in common. And the things that we all have in common are what some people call stardust. All of us come from the stars in some way, shape, or form, okay? I often like to say we all come from the same kitchen, and that kitchen has the same ingredients and spices in it. What comes out of that kitchen is going to be a little bit different, but it all comes from the same kitchen and the same spices and ingredients, all right? So let's keep that in mind, folks. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I told you I'd save the normal stuff for the end of the video. Really quick, I'm a multiple award-winning author. I've authored 3 books, but 2 of them are award-winning. The first of which is From Fear to Faith, a Survivor Story, a story which will illustrate to you in very vivid detail how having the proper mindset can help you to achieve the impossible. It's only impossible if you don't think you can do it, okay? Everything's about mindset. That story chronicles a 2010/2011 journey through the front lines of the war on cancer. And I don't mean the front lines as a soldier, but the front lines as, well, I guess you are a soldier if you're fighting it. I wasn't a healthcare provider. I was someone who had to deal with it. And I thank God for my being here and helping me. Were it not for the mindset that I can and I will, that came from above, that came from within, because God is as much within us as He is without us. If you want to call it she again, you look at some of my other videos, you won't get an argument from me. Or each of us is made up of divine masculine and divine feminine energy, so it really doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't get in arguments about stuff that doesn't matter. What does matter is the what, okay? All right. And so, again, From Fear to Faith, a Survivor Story, how mindset can help you to achieve the impossible, how mindset can help you to overcome the worst of circumstances. You're talking about one of the worst diagnoses that anyone could ever receive. And I'm here 11 years later telling that story. That's From Fear to Faith, a Survivor Story. Now, it's not dark. There's a lot of humor in there, too. It's not a dark tale. I know when you hear the C word, it sounds dark. But let me tell you something. That is a story of triumph. It's a story of victory. And it is the sharing of a narrative that says, you can do it, too. You can do it, too. What is your mindset? Now, the other one, the second award-winning book, you see this big smile because I've gotten so much feedback on this book, and it's been different from everybody. It's been different with everybody, and I'll tell you what, it was a blast to write, a blast to read, and a blast to talk about. Stuck in an Elevator. Stuck in an Elevator is a tale of passion and self-discovery that takes place high above the Los Angeles skyline. Now, it is a fictitious tale. Let me say that, all right? It's fictitious, all right? It's not real. It's not based on any actual events, okay? But what it does is it allows you to perhaps take that narrative, take that story, and compare it to something that may have happened in your life. There's something in that book for everybody, whether you are male or female, and regardless of what color or ethnic group you identify with, okay? That book has something for everybody in it. And there's some powerful lessons in it. You'll be entertained. This book will hold your entertainment. It will hold you captive for 1 hour. Because when you read those opening 1 or 2 pages, you're going to look up, there's going to be an hour gone off the clock, and you're going to be like, where's the rest of it? I'm so mad. Where's the rest of it? That's the number 1 comment I've gotten from that. Matt, where's the follow-up? You can't leave a cliffhanger like that. That's Stuck in an Elevator. It allows you to be a fly on the wall in an elevator that's not moving with 2 individuals that are polar opposites. Check it out. You can get all of my books in paperback. There's another one out there, Captain's Mate. If you're a tennis player, that's a must-own copy, okay? That's a I must own a copy of this book type of book, all right? Haven't had lunch yet, so I'm getting a little bit scattered. I'm going to drink some more water, and then I got a portobello mushroom sandwich over here. I won't say where it came from because they're not paying me any advertising dollars. But shout out to my wife for bringing it in here because she knew I was hungry, right? Anyway, so I'm about ready to jump down on that. But you can get all of my books on paperback at my website, www.talfordarts.com. They're also available in Kindle and Amazon Kindle and Apple iBooks. And if you like audiobooks, From Fear to Faith, A Survivor Story is available in audiobook at your favorite audiobook retailer. I'll end this video. First of all, thank you guys. Thank you guys for sticking. Thank you guys for watching this entire video if you made it this far. If you like this video, if you find it useful, please give it a thumbs up. Like it, okay? Share it with somebody, because I'm going to tell you, I've said this 1,000 times, or at least it feels like 1,000 times. If they gave us astrology in high school and made it a prerequisite to graduating, none of us would have to deal with some of the baloney. I want to be nice today. None of us would have to deal with the baloney that we've had to deal with in relationships our entire lives, because we'd understand ourselves better and we'd understand others better. I'll give you one more example from the preceding video, and that is when you're dealing with somebody who has Mercury for their chart ruler, words are very important to them. Keep that in mind. And words, why do I say words? Why did I bring up communication? Communication is the lifeblood of any relationship, okay? If your communication is awry, your relationship is gonna be bad, okay? If your communication is great, you're gonna have a great relationship. Doesn't mean you're not gonna have some problems, some bumps here, whatever. But as long as you have communication and there's understanding, then you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it. So again, for those that have Virgo and Gemini placements in their charts, especially in the Sun, Moon, Rising, or their Mercury, because I didn't get into the planetary placements. If you've got Virgo or Gemini in your Sun, Moon, Rising, or your Mercury, if you got that, words and communication are vital to you. They're very important. You'll find with a lot of these people, they don't forget a single word that you said. They don't forget a single word. So choose your words carefully, depending on who you're dealing with, and what other placements they have. If they got a Libra placement, they may or may not. It just depends. It depends. Y'all, there's one I saw. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna get off of here, and I'll put a link to the description in the description box of this one. There's a video I saw that talks about it ranks the 12 zodiac signs from easiest to get along with to the most difficult to get along with. And I like to watch those because those are fun too. You can check that out and see if you agree with it or not. I definitely agree with mine, okay? I agree with the placement of my Capricorn, the Libra, and the Cancer. So those videos are a lot of fun to watch. Anyway, guys, listen. Tell somebody you love them and mean it, all right? How do you mean it? You got to show it. Love is an action word, okay? Love is a verb. You might argue love is a noun too, which in that case would be a state of being. But when we focus on the verb, sometimes I think we focus too much on the noun and we look at, I don't have love, or love is missing from my life, or what. If you just focus on the verb, the noun takes care of itself. I always say that. Focus on showing love. If you try to embody love, you try to be the example of love, then you will have love. It's that simple. It's that simple. Create love and there will be love. All right? Embody love, embrace love, and there will be love. Okay? Some people are good at giving love. They're not necessarily good at receiving it. And that could be anything. I mean, some people are great at giving. They're not necessarily. I've had to learn how to work on receiving in my lifetime. That's just something personal about me. I've had to learn. I've always loved giving. I've had a thing with receiving sometimes. And the older I've gotten, the more I've realized that when you receive, you allow somebody else to get their blessing. I've had a number of old heads tell me that, Matt, don't block my blessing, okay? If I want to give you this, if I want to bless you with this, please accept it with gratitude, because that's going to open up the door for me to get a blessing because I gave, And then you can look at my universal balance sheets video. Whatever you give out, good or bad, it comes back to you multiplied. That's just the law of the universe. Whatever you give out, good or bad, it comes back to you multiplied. So, if you take care of the verb, the noun takes care of itself. Tell somebody you love them and mean it. How do you mean it? You show it. Peace.